In late September of 2021, Samsung pulled off an incredible feat. They crushed Apple overnight. For the first time in over a decade, they outsold Apple globally. This was not because iPhone demand dropped. In fact, it actually increased. But at the same time, Samsung also increased their sales even more to reach a new all-time record. So how did Samsung do this? Well, there's one secret strategy that I believe is responsible for most of Samsung's success, and it's something that they've been hiding from the world. It all started back in early September with the release of the new iPhone 13 lineup. Samsung knew that this would be a big moment for Apple, and that the new iPhones would sell like hotcakes. After all, these were Apple's first new designs since the iPhone 12, and the first time that they were increasing storage space without increasing prices. The hype was real. Even though Samsung knew that Apple's new phones would sell well, they were still able to crush them overnight by releasing the Ultimate Flex. This was the limited edition green version of the Galaxy Fold 3. Now, most people didn't expect this phone to be a big deal. It was just a regular Fold 3 with a different color. But this couldn't be further from the truth. You see, Samsung wanted to make a statement. They wanted to show the world that their foldables are no longer a gimmick. They're here to stay. What better way to do this than by dropping a limited edition color on the hottest foldable phone on the market? This is why when the green Fold 3 dropped, everyone was talking about it. Tech influencers went crazy. Media articles were being published left and right, and all eyes were on the newest foldable. It was the talk of the town. At the same time, Apple was having their keynote for the new iPhone 13 lineup. But guess what? No one cared. The entire tech community was focused on one thing and one thing only: the green Galaxy Fold 3. But this was just the beginning of Samsung's plan. You see, ever since the Galaxy Z series dropped, Samsung has been heavily promoting the creaseless display. Every commercial, every social media post, they were all about that crease. But with the Fold 3, things were a bit different. See, the crease is still there. It's just less noticeable. So what did they do? Instead of trying to push something that wasn't quite true, they doubled down on another feature: water resistance. They promoted the heck out of this. I mean, everywhere you looked, there was a Galaxy Fold 3 commercial showing off the water resistance. If you ask me, I think this was a brilliant move. You see, no other folding phone has water resistance. This is something that sets the Fold 3 apart from everything else on the market. And it was this move that caused Samsung's sales to explode. At the same time, Apple's sales also increased. They both had a great month of September, but then October hit and things took a turn. You see, after the launch of the Fold 3 and the Flip 3, Samsung continued to promote the water resistance. They pushed and pushed and pushed until they convinced enough people to buy. But now they need to convince a whole new group of people to upgrade. And that is not an easy task. You have to understand that most people don't upgrade their phones every year or two. A lot of them wait 5, 6, maybe even 7 years before upgrading. It's not enough to just get people to buy. You need to get them to buy the latest and greatest. And that's exactly what Samsung did. Samsung released the S21 FA in January of 2022. Now this was weird because they had just released the S22 lineup a month earlier. But this move actually worked out perfectly. You see, the S21 FE was a perfect stepping stone between the Galaxy S and the Galaxy A series. For example, you can easily switch between 5G and LTE depending on where you are. This is something that cannot be done on the S22. Then we have expandable storage, which is also something that you won't find on the S22. And finally, you have a charger and a 3.5mm headphone jack, which again cannot be found on the S22. So even though it does have an older processor, you get so many extra features that you simply do not get on the newer models. And this proved to be a huge hit. The S21 FE flew off shelves and helped Samsung maintain their lead over Apple in terms of global market share. But Apple would eventually fight back with the release of the iPhone SE 3. Now, I know what you're thinking. The iPhone SE 3 is not a big phone. How could this possibly compete with the S21 FA? Well, here's the thing. It's not really supposed to. You see, the SE line is not meant to compete with the flagship phones. It's more of a budget phone that allows people to get into the Apple ecosystem at a cheaper price point. If you look at the specs, you'll see that it doesn't compare to the S21 FA. It has a much slower processor, number 5G, no expandable storage, and the camera is definitely not as good. But this isn't really the point. You have to understand that the S25 isn't really supposed to be a flagship phone. It's just a budget option. That being said, it still does come with some pretty cool features, mainly the 5G and the camera. Apple is known for making amazing cameras, and the SE3 is no exception. Sure, it only has one camera compared to the S21 FE's 3, but this one camera is still going to take better pictures than the S21 FE. Not to mention it comes with Apple's newest flagship processor, the A15 Bionic. This is the same processor that is found in the iPhone 13 lineup, so performance will not be an issue. So the biggest question here is whether or not the upgraded camera and performance is enough to convince people to switch to the iPhone, say, 3 instead of the S21 FE, and the answer is yes. If you look at the latest sales figures, you'll see that Apple has made a strong comeback. In fact, they've already surpassed Samsung in terms of global market share. So how does Samsung respond? They could always release another limited edition color, but I don't think this is going to be enough. Let us take a look at the top 5 best-selling smartphones worldwide and see how Samsung could possibly rank higher. Number 5 is the iPhone 13. This is a great phone, but it's important to note that this is just one single model. Samsung, on the other hand, has an entire lineup of phones that fall within this price range. Then we have the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which is once again just one single model. Next up, we have the iPhone 12, which is also one single model. And this brings us to the iPhone 11, which once again is just one single model. So this means that Samsung only needs to beat one more model in order to get into the top 4. And that model is the iPhone SE. To do this, they could release a new budget phone that offers similar specs to the iPhone SE, but for a cheaper price. I mean, that's what Xiaomi has done. They took their best-selling model, the Mi 11 Ultra, and they released a light version that costs almost half as much. And this worked out perfectly. They were able to increase their global market share. So if Samsung wants to get back on top, they need to do the same exact thing. They need to take their best-selling model, which would either be the S21 FE or the M33, and release a cheaper version that costs around $399. This would allow them to compete directly with the iPhone SE and potentially steal some of its market share. Another thing that Samsung could do is release a limited edition color of the S21 FE. They could call it the S21 FE, Aura Edition or something like that. Then they could drop a few commercials promoting this limited edition color and watch the sales figures go through the roof. Speaking of the commercials, I believe that this is the key to Samsung's success. Their commercials are unlike anything that we have ever seen. Take a look at this one. This is a regular foldable commercial. Nothing really special, although I do like that they included the water resistance. Here's another one. Once again, nothing too special. And finally, we have one more. Okay, this one is a bit different, but it's still not the craziest thing that I've ever seen. Now take a look at this. This is a regular commercial. It's simple, straightforward, and to the point. And here's another one. Once again, simple, straightforward, and to the point. Now take a look at this. What do you think? Crazy, right? I mean, this has nothing to do with the phone itself. It's not showcasing any of its features or benefits. It's literally just a guy doing a magic trick. I want you guys to let me know what you think about these commercials. Do you think they're effective? Why or why not? I personally think that they're a bit odd, but they seem to be working. Whatever Samsung is doing, it seems to be working. They've been able to surpass Apple for the first time in over a decade, and it's only a matter of time until they release the next foldable. And when they do, I have no doubt that they'll break yet another record. Would you guys buy the new green Galaxy Fold 3? Would you rather wait for the next foldable that's rumored to be released later this year? Comment that down below. Also drop a like if you're excited for the next foldable. And of course, consider checking out our international channels to watch our videos in other languages, and consider subscribing to see more questions logically answered. But until then, I'll see you guys on the next one.